everyone. Welcome to week number 5. So this week we will be focusing on 3 chapters, all dealing with the neurological system. Those 3 chapters that we are going to look at are chapters 25, pages 565 to 576, chapter 37, pages 850 to 853, and chapter 41, pages 938 to 947. So let's start in. We've got 3 overviews to do, so let's get started. So I'm going to start with chapter 25, which is beginning our discussion on the neurological system. Now, as a medical assistant working in the neurology field, you need to have a good understanding of the system itself, the functions of the system, and then the structures of this system. So when we talk about the nervous system, it's actually a very vital component to our bodies as human beings. The nervous system will be responsible for transferring information through electrical changes or electrical impulses that will then travel the length of our cells. Now, your nervous system does have 3 functions. Function number 1, it's going to detect and interpret sensory information from the body or outside environment. Function 2 will be to take that information and make a decision about what actions or how it should be received. And then the 3rd function will be to actually carry out another function or another action based on what the decision was made from the secondary function. So you're going to get this information, you're going to process it, you're going to process it, and then you're going to interpret it and say, okay, this is what it means. And then what you'll do is take a 3rd action and actually create or follow through on the action that was made in step 2. So when we talk about our nervous system, it's made up of specialized nerve cells called neurons. And there are 3 types of neurons found in the human body. You have motor neurons, sensory neurons, and interneurons. So when we say motor neurons, these are the ones responsible for controlling most of our human body functions. Motor neurons are responsible for causing muscles to contract, glands to secrete your hormones, or organs to function. Just like those, so muscles to contract, that would be moving our arms and legs. Glands to secrete, those would be our hormones. For males, it's testosterone. For women, it's estrogen, along with some other hormones that we have throughout our body. And then organs to function would be things such as our digestive tract that will contract to help with the digesting of food. Motor neurons are actually called efferent, which means that they can transmit an impulse away from the cell body in the central nervous system to stimulate a muscle, organ, or gland to do their job. Sensory neurons, on the other hand, are attached to sensory receptors. This means that they transmit the information from those receptors to the central nervous system through a peripheral projection. Sensory neurons will lack a true dendrite, which means that they are sheathed and are more closely related and resemble those of axons. Intraneurons are also called associative neurons. They are located in the central nervous system completely. You won't find them anywhere else outside the central nervous system. And their job is to act as a liaison or kind of like a third party between sensory and motor neurons. They're the middle guy. They're the ones that's there to kind of try to break up fights, for lack of a better saying. So now it's important that you know the structures of your central nervous system. And your central nervous system is actually made up of two different systems. They are made up of your central nervous system that you've heard me talk about a little bit, and the peripheral nervous system. Your central nervous system is composed of your brain and spinal cord, and in this system, they are the ones that will actually receive the impulses from the entire body. They will process the information that they've received and then respond with appropriate actions. The peripheral nervous system, on the other hand, is composed of your cranial and spinal nerves, and they are connected to the central nervous system. The peripheral nervous system is then divided further into two other systems, the somatic nervous system and the automatic nervous system. The somatic nervous system is made up of nerves that connect to skeletal muscle, to your sensory organs, or to the skin. So essentially, they're going to be the ones that meet up with motor neurons and carry out a function. Automatic nervous system is responsible for controlling involuntary actions and functions, such as sweating, secreting glands, arterial blood pressure, having smooth muscle tissue, and those actions that go on in the heart. So that's chapter 25 for you. I'm going to move on to chapter 37. So chapter 37 will help you as the medical assistant understand your role in assisting with neurological examinations and the nervous system. So the study of the nervous system is called neurology. Hopefully by this point you've kind of figured that out. A neurologist is a physician who will actually specialize in treating and diagnosing diseases and conditions of your nervous system. But there are some other doctors that you may hear of when we talk about neurology, such as a neurosurgeon. And this is someone who will perform surgical procedures or other types of procedures, invasive procedures, that are required in the nervous system, maybe due to an injury or a disease. Another doctor you might hear of is a psychiatrist, who is a physician that will deal with mental and neurological conditions that affect the behavior of a person. Now, as a clinical medical assistant, you will have some duties to perform on a daily basis. One of those duties will be to room patients and obtain their vital signs. This is going to be the same in any department that you work in or any sort of specialty that you work in. That is always going to be your number one responsibility. You'll also be responsible for reviewing the patient's medical history, updating it as needed, and completing any forms that the provider would like done based on the patient's needs. Again, this will be something that you do in any specialty. You may also be responsible for scheduling appropriate tests or procedures. You also will be preparing the exam room and assisting the physician during a neurological exam. Now, neurological exams will focus on the state of consciousness of your patient, their reflex response, their motor response, their speech patterns, and their behavior patterns. You will need to ensure that all of the necessary supplies that the provider will need will be readily available in the room. You will support and encourage your patient during the exam, and you may be responsible for positioning them as well. And the last duty that you're going to be responsible for in the neurological office will be providing patient education and support based on the diagnosis and the treatment plan discussed. Again, that might be something that you do in all aspects and in all specialties, so nothing really too new there for you. Alright, and our last chapter we're going to talk about is chapter 41. So chapter 41 is kind of talking about geriatrics and the aging process. And one of the things that we kind of have to look at when we talk about an aging process is the physical and mental changes the patient will go through. Physical changes will be things that are a continual process. They'll start the day that we're born and they will end the day that we pass away. And there are several different factors that will change your body and your physical appearance and your physical changes, such as genetics, life choices, any occupational hazards that you have, your nutrition and healthcare service choices that you've made, and any social or physical environments that you live or work in. Now, the big thing that will affect neurological will be your mental changes. It's important to know that mental deterioration is not part of the normal aging process, like people think it is. Now, that doesn't mean that it doesn't happen. It does increase with your risk due to various different physical disorders, but the normal mental deterioration is not part of aging. When we're dealing with mental health and trying to keep patients upbeat and have good mental health, we always tell them to remain active and engage in social interactions. This is good for them. It will help them feel a sense of need. Some of the other neurological things we'll deal with are confusion, depression, dementia, and Alzheimer's. So confusion is really a term that indicates that a person cannot follow a conversation, they cannot answer a question appropriately, they don't understand where they are, and they cannot remember facts or make safe judgments. So that's always something to think about, and that's how we'll diagnose confusion. Now, when we talk about confusion, something that falls under this is called sundowners. And what sundowners is it's a confusion seen in patients generally with Alzheimer's or dementia, some form of dementia, that will actually have this confusion after the sun goes down or at night only. The confusion doesn't happen during the day, just at night. Depression is going to be defined as an abnormal and persistent mood characterized by sadness, melancholy, slowed mental process, changes in your eating or sleeping habits. Medical depression is actually confirmed when 5 of those symptoms I just listed are present daily for at least 2 weeks. If that happens, we generally diagnose patients as clinically depressed. Dementia. This is a syndrome that's going to be marked by progressive loss of memory and other intellectual functions. It's important to know that dementia can occur at any age, but is more frequently seen in those of the elderly. And about half of the dementia patients who are diagnosed with dementia actually have Alzheimer's. Now, Alzheimer's is a progressive disorder of the central nervous system that eventually will destroy all mental capacities. And with the mental capacities will go all of the other physical capacities, and your body will start to shut down after long periods of time. Alright guys, that is where I'm going to stop for this week's video. I really do encourage you to make sure that you are reading your chapter pages in full, as that will help you with your discussion post for this week, but also your quiz. Not only for my class will it help you, but when you actually go into your lab classes this week, it will help you be as prepared as possible for the labs that you'll be taking care of. Now, for your discussion board this week, we are focusing on the topic of dementia versus Alzheimer's disease. What you will need to do is you're going to have to do some research, book and online, and decide whether you think that Alzheimer's and dementia are the same or different. You'll need to explain why you think they're the same or why you think that they are different. Please make sure that your initial discussion post is completed Tuesday by midnight and that you have 2 responses to your classmates completed Saturday by midnight. And lastly, for your quiz this week, we are looking at those 3 chapters, so 25, 37, and 41. It is a 10 multiple choice true-false quiz, and you have a 10-minute time limit to take this exam. As this is an online quiz, that means that you're going to have to submit that Sunday by midnight. And that's really kind of all I have for you for the Neurological Week. If you have any questions or concerns, or you need some help with something, please make sure that you reach out to me and I will help you as best as I can. Have a wonderful week, guys, and I look forward to seeing you later. Bye-bye.